Growing up, the smell of charcoal and hickory smoke meant everything to me. It meant Dad was home, Mom was laughing, and my little sister Diana was chasing fireflies in the backyard. Our family BBQ was sacred. Every summer without fail, we gathered on that old wooden deck Dad built with his own hands. So when Diana got married, I thought our family was only getting bigger. I never imagined her new wife would try to cut me out completely. That morning, Mom called with a trembling voice, and nothing was ever the same. Before I get into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories about standing up for yourself and family loyalty, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you are going to want to stick around for this one, because what Kristen said about me and what happened when I showed up anyway will stay with you for a long time. My name is Gordon, and I am 32 years old. I live in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knows your business, and your grandfather's business too. I run a septic tank and waste management company. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. It is not exactly the kind of job you brag about at cocktail parties. But here is the thing. My father started this company from nothing. He bought one beat-up truck when I was 5 years old, and by the time I was in high school, he had built it into something real. 12 trucks, 25 employees. We service 3 counties now. Dad passed away 5 years ago. Cancer took him slowly, and I watched him shrink from the strongest man I knew into someone I had to carry to the bathroom. But even in those final weeks, he never complained. He would look at me with those tired eyes and say, "Gordon, take care of your sister and your mother, and never be ashamed of honest work." I took over the company the week after his funeral. My hands still have the calluses from fixing pipes and hauling equipment. Some days I come home smelling like things I would rather not describe. People cross the street when they see me in my work clothes. But I have never been ashamed. This company pays good wages to 25 families. It keeps the lights on in my mother's house. And it put my sister through 4 years of college without her taking a single loan. Diana is 4 years younger than me. 28 now, smart as a whip, works in graphic design in Columbus. When we were kids, I was her protector. When Billy Morrison pushed her off the swings in 3rd grade, I was the one who pushed him right back. When she cried because Dad was too sick to come to her college graduation, I sat beside her and held her hand through the whole ceremony. When Diana told me she was gay, I was the first person she came out to. She was so scared, sitting on the edge of my couch, picking at her fingernails the way she does when she is nervous. I remember pulling her into a hug and saying, "Love is love." Dad would have said the same thing. She cried into my shoulder for 10 minutes straight. From that day on, I made a promise to myself. No matter what, I would support my sister. So when Diana introduced me to Kristen about 2 years ago, I was genuinely happy. Kristen was polished, confident, the kind of woman who always knew what to say in social situations. She worked in marketing at some firm in the city, always talking about campaigns and client acquisitions. She dressed like she had just stepped out of a magazine. And she looked at Diana like she was the center of the universe. That was enough for me. Their wedding was 6 months ago. Beautiful ceremony at a vineyard outside Columbus. I wore my one good suit, the one I only bring out for funerals and weddings. I gave a toast about how Diana deserved all the happiness in the world, and how I was proud to welcome Kristen into our family. Kristen smiled at me across the table, but now that I think about it, the smile never quite reached her eyes. The morning of the annual family BBQ, I woke up early. I had already bought everything the night before. Prime ribeye steaks from the butcher, a case of craft beer from the local brewery, and a new set of grilling tongs for Uncle Ray because he had been complaining about his old ones for months. I was loading everything into my truck when my phone rang. It was Mom. Her voice was different. Soft, hesitant, like she was apologizing before she even said anything. "Gordon, honey," she started. There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end. I waited. Kristen thinks she continued, and then stopped again. Maybe this year you should skip the BBQ. I stood there in my driveway, the phone pressed to my ear, completely frozen. Skip the BBQ. The BBQ that we had been having at Mom's house for as long as I could remember. The BBQ where Dad used to wear that ridiculous apron that said, "Kiss the cook and actually mean it." I asked her why. My voice came out steadier than I felt. Mom's words came out in a rush, like she wanted to get them over with as quickly as possible. She said, "With your job, you know the smell. It might make guests uncomfortable. She has some colleagues coming." Guests. Colleagues. At our family BBQ. I took a deep breath. And Diana. What does Diana say? The silence on the other end of the line told me everything I needed to know. Finally, Mom spoke. Diana said whatever makes Kristen comfortable. I felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed. My little sister, the one I had protected my whole life, the one I had supported through everything, could not even stand up and say that her brother belonged at their family gathering. "I understand, Mom," I finally said. "Do not worry about me." I hung up and looked down at the bags of food sitting in my truck bed. The steaks, the beer, the tongs for Uncle Ray. All of it suddenly felt heavy in a way that had nothing to do with weight. The house felt empty that morning. I walked back inside and sat down in the living room, staring at nothing in particular. The clock on the wall ticked too loud. Everything felt wrong. My eyes drifted to the photos on the wall. There was Dad grinning next to his first truck, the paint already peeling off the doors. There was Diana at her high school graduation, me standing behind her with my hand on her shoulder. There was all of us at the last BBQ before Dad got diagnosed, everyone laughing at some joke Uncle Ray had told. I could still hear Dad's voice in my head. Never be ashamed of honest work. But sitting there alone, I started to wonder if maybe I should be. Maybe Kristen was right. Maybe I was an embarrassment. Maybe the smell of my work had seeped so deep into me that I could never wash it out. My phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Jake. His message was simple and excited. "Bro, you coming to the BBQ? I am bringing my famous hot sauce." You know the one. I stared at the screen for a long time. I did not know how to respond. How do you tell your cousin that you have been banned from your own family gathering? An hour later, Uncle Ray called. Ray is my mother's older brother, 62 years old, with a voice like gravel and a heart as big as Texas. He never did learn how to speak quietly or mince words. "Gordon," he barked into the phone. "What is this? I hear about you not coming today." I tried to brush it off. "It is not a big deal, Uncle Ray. Kristen just thought it would be better if I stayed home." Better Ray's voice got louder. "Better for who? That woman has no right to ban you from your own family's home. Your father built that backyard deck with his own 2 hands. He laid every single board. I knew that. I had helped him do it. I was 15, and Dad made me measure twice and cut once. We worked on it for 3 weekends straight. Ray was not done. You know what else that Kristen woman told me? I should not wear my favorite shirt today. Said it looked old. And she suggested I try to be quieter because her work friends might find me overwhelming." Me. Overwhelming. "I have known your mother since before you were born." I sat up straighter. "She said that to you?" Ray let out a bitter laugh. "Son, that woman is trying to turn your mother's backyard into some kind of fancy garden party. She invited her colleagues, her boss. She has been telling everyone what to wear and how to act. She wants to impress them for some promotion she is chasing." Things started clicking into place. This was not about my smell. This was not about protecting Diana from embarrassment. This was about Kristen using our family gathering as her personal stage and cutting out anyone who did not fit her carefully curated image. "She is using your mother's house as her showroom," Ray continued, "and she is cutting out anyone who does not match the picture she wants to paint." I thought about Mom's voice on the phone, the way she apologized before she even told me what was happening. like she was the one who had done something wrong. I thought about Diana, who had spent her whole childhood knowing I would always have her back. Diana, who could not even send me a text to explain or apologize. "What are you going to do?" Ray asked. I sat there in silence for a minute. Part of me wanted to just let it go. Avoid the conflict. Let Diana have her day with her wife and her fancy colleagues. But another part of me, the part that sounded a lot like my father, refused to back down. If I stayed home, Kristen would learn that she could push us around. Next time it would be Uncle Ray. Then Cousin Jake. Then who knows who else? She would keep trimming our family tree until it looked exactly the way she wanted it to. And Mom would keep apologizing for things that were not her fault. She would keep shrinking herself to keep the peace. That was not the mother who raised me. That was not the family Dad left behind. "I am going," I told Uncle Ray. I heard him laugh on the other end. "That is my boy. Your dad would be proud." After I hung up, I went upstairs and took a long shower. I scrubbed myself until my skin was red. I put on clean jeans and my father's old button-down shirt. It was light blue, with the company logo embroidered on the chest pocket. A truck with the words, "Thompson Septic Services," stitched in navy thread. Dad wore this shirt in the photo on the wall. It still smelled faintly of his cologne. I grabbed the bags from my truck, the steaks, the beer, the tongs, and one more thing I had been saving. A framed photo of Dad at the very first family BBQ he ever hosted at this house. I was going to give it to Mom today. Before I walked out the door, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked myself in the eye. "Dad," I said quietly, "I hope you're watching." The drive to Mom's house took about 20 minutes. I knew every turn, every pothole, every leaning mailbox along the way. I had driven this route 1,000 times, but today it felt different. Heavier. When I pulled up to the street, I noticed immediately that something was off. There were cars I did not recognize parked along the curb. A sleek silver sedan. A white SUV with a bumper sticker from some yoga studio. These were not the trucks and minivans that usually lined up for our family gatherings. I parked at the end of the block and walked toward the house. As I got closer, I could hear music drifting from the backyard. But it was not the classic country Dad always played. It was smooth jazz. The kind of music you hear in hotel lobbies. I walked through the side gate. The first thing I noticed was the decorations. White tablecloths on folding tables, fresh flowers in glass vases, place cards with names written in elegant calligraphy. There was even a small sign that said, "Welcome to the summer gathering." Not BBQ, gathering. I scanned the yard. There were maybe 30 people, half of whom I had never seen before. They were dressed like they were going to a brunch, not a backyard cookout. Linen pants, sundresses, blazers. I spotted Uncle Ray in the corner, looking deeply uncomfortable in his usual jeans and boots. Cousin Jake was standing next to him, arms crossed, watching the scene with obvious confusion. And there, in the center of it all, was Kristen. She was wearing a cream-colored dress and holding a glass of white wine, laughing at something one of her colleagues had said. She looked completely in her element. Like this was her party, her house, her family. Diana stood beside her. But my sister did not look happy. Her smile was tight, her shoulders stiff. She kept glancing around like she was searching for something. Or someone. I took a deep breath and stepped fully into the yard. It took about 10 seconds for Kristen to notice me. Her laughter stopped mid-sentence. The color drained from her face. She set down her wine glass so quickly that some of it sloshed onto the tablecloth. She moved toward me fast, her heels clicking against the patio stones. When she reached me, she grabbed my arm and pulled me aside, her voice a harsh whisper. "What are you doing here? I told Martha to tell you not to come." I kept my voice calm. "This is my mother's house, and this is my family's BBQ. I have every right to be here." Her eyes narrowed. She leaned closer, her voice dropping even lower. "You are going to embarrass Diana. You are going to ruin everything I have worked for." I looked at her steadily. "Embarrass her or embarrass you?" Something shifted in her expression. The polite mask slipped. Her voice got louder, sharp enough that people nearby started to turn their heads. "You smell like a sewer. You are nothing but a glorified garbage man. Get out of here before my colleagues see you." I did not move. I did not raise my voice. I just stood there and let her words hang in the air for everyone to hear. "I built my business from my father's legacy," I said. "I employ 25 people. I put my sister through college without her taking on a single dollar of debt. I have been part of this family for 32 years. So let me ask you something, Kristen. What exactly have you contributed?" The backyard went silent. The jazz music suddenly seemed absurdly loud. Everyone was staring now. Kristen's colleagues, Uncle Ray, Cousin Jake, Mom, who had just stepped out of the kitchen door with a plate of cornbread in her hands. Kristen's composure shattered completely. Her voice rose to a near scream. "You are ruining my career. You and your disgusting job." I told Diana her family was trash, and I was right. The words echoed across the yard. I watched them land like bombs on the faces of everyone present. One of Kristen's colleagues actually took a step backward. Another set down her drink and quietly gathered her purse. Diana stood frozen. Her face had gone pale. She was staring at Kristen like she was seeing her for the first time. Mom's hands were trembling. The plate of cornbread nearly slipped from her grip. Her eyes were red, glistening with tears she was trying not to shed. Uncle Ray pushed himself up from his chair. His voice was low and cold. "So that is what you really think about us?" Kristen looked around, finally realizing what she had done. Her colleagues were leaving. Her boss, a man in his 50s, with gray hair and an expensive watch, stood up from his seat. He looked at Kristen with unmistakable disappointment. Then he turned and walked out the gate without a word. Kristen Diana finally spoke. Her voice was shaking. "You told me Gordon could not come because of the smell. You said it was for the best. You never told me you think my family is trash." Kristen tried to recover. "Baby, I did not mean it like that. I was just stressed. You know how important today was." Diana shook her head slowly. "All those times you made excuses for why we could not visit Mom. All those times you said Uncle Ray was too loud, that Cousin Jake was too rough around the edges. You were not protecting me from anything. You were isolating me." I watched my sister's eyes fill with tears. But they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of recognition, of finally seeing clearly. Diana looked at me. "I am so sorry, Gordon. I should have seen it sooner. I should have said something. I should have—" I crossed the distance between us and pulled her into a hug. "It is okay," I said. "We are family. We figure things out." Kristen stood alone in the middle of the yard. No one moved toward her. No one spoke to her. After a long moment, she turned and walked out the side gate. No dramatic exit, no final words, just the quiet departure of someone who had destroyed everything she claimed to care about. Uncle Ray walked over to the portable speaker and changed the music. Johnny Cash filled the air. Cousin Jake let out a long breath and said, "All right, who wants a burger?" Mom wiped her eyes, set down the cornbread, and went back into the kitchen to bring out the rest of the food. The BBQ continued. Not the way Kristen had planned it, but exactly the way it was supposed to be. Mom came and stood beside me as Uncle Ray fired up the grill. She slipped her hand into mine and squeezed. "Your father would be so proud of you," she said quietly. I looked at the deck beneath our feet. The boards Dad and I had laid together all those years ago. They were weathered now, faded by sun and rain. But they were still holding strong. The weeks after the BBQ were not easy. Diana and Kristen separated almost immediately. My sister moved back into her old bedroom at Mom's house, the one with the faded posters of bands she loved in high school. She was quieter than I remembered, sadder, but also somehow more present. I started coming by more often, not every day but close to it. Sometimes I brought dinner. Sometimes I just sat on the couch and watched old movies with her while Mom knitted in her armchair. We did not always talk about what happened. Some wounds take time before you can touch them. But slowly, Diana started opening up. She told me about the things she had missed while she was with Kristen. The warning signs she had ignored. The way Kristen would criticize her family in small ways at first, then bigger ones. The way Kristen controlled their social calendar, so Diana rarely saw her old friends. The way Kristen managed their finances, so Diana never knew exactly what they had or where it went. I listened. I did not judge. I did not say I told you so. That was not what she needed. She needed to know that her family was still here, that we had never stopped loving her even when she was not around. Mom started laughing again. Real laughs, not the polite chuckles she had been doing for months. Uncle Ray came over for dinner every Sunday. Cousin Jake brought his kids, and they ran around the backyard screaming and playing tag the way Diana and I used to. The house felt alive again. One evening, I sat alone on the back deck. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I could hear crickets starting up in the grass. I thought about Kristen, and I realized something surprising. I was not angry at her anymore. What I felt was closer to pity. Here was a woman so desperate to build an image of success that she forgot what actually mattered. She pushed away an entire family because we did not fit the picture in her head. And now she had nothing. No wife, no in-laws, no colleagues who respected her. Just an empty apartment and a career that would never fill the hole inside her. I thought about myself too. All those years of wondering if I should be ashamed of my work. All those times I felt lesser because my hands were dirty and my truck smelled like places no one wanted to think about. But here is what I finally understood. Dignity does not come from the job you do. It comes from how you treat the people around you. It comes from showing up when it matters. It comes from building something real even if no one else thinks it is important. Dad knew that. He lived it every day of his life. He never had soft hands or a corner office. But he had a family that loved him, employees who respected him, and a community that counted on him. That is worth more than any job title. A few nights later, Diana came and sat beside me on the deck. The stars were out, and the air smelled like cut grass and honeysuckle. I almost lost everyone, she said quietly. My whole family. Because I was too scared to speak up. I shook my head. You did not lose us. We were always here. And we always will be. She was quiet for a while. Then she asked, "How did you know to show up that day? How did you have the courage?" I thought about it. I thought about Dad's shirt with the company logo. I thought about Uncle Ray's phone call. I thought about the photos on the wall and the deck beneath my feet. I thought about Dad. I finally said, "He never ran from anything. He taught me that sometimes showing up is the bravest thing you can do." Diana leaned her head against my shoulder. We sat there together, listening to the night sounds, feeling the solid wood of the deck beneath us. The deck our father built. The deck that was still standing, still strong, still holding all of us up. Here is what I learned from all of this. Family is not about people who never disappoint you. Family is about people who come back when they realize they were wrong. It is about the ones who show up even when it is hard, even when it is uncomfortable, even when someone is trying to convince them they do not belong. Sometimes you have to stand up, not to win a fight, not to prove a point, but to remind everyone, including yourself, of who you are and where you come from. And sometimes the person who tries the hardest to push you out of the picture ends up erasing themselves instead. So if anyone ever tries to make you feel small for who you are or what you do, remember this: the people who truly love you will never ask you to shrink. They will make room for you at the table. Always. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had someone try to exclude you from your own family? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and I think your experiences might help someone else who is going through the same thing. If this story touched you, please give it a like. It really helps more people find these videos. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today, someone who might be feeling like they do not fit in, someone who needs a reminder that their worth is not defined by what other people think. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, no matter what kind of work you do or where you come from, you deserve a seat at the table. Your family should be the ones making room for you, not the ones pushing you out. Take care of yourselves, and take care of each other.